We're live. How you guys doing? I'm here a couple minutes early, so I think I'm gonna preemptively drink this beer. But whoever's out there, thanks for coming to hang out. It was a request for me to come bring back this Drinking Leather series. I really enjoyed doing it, but it was just hard for me to find time, and time is now. I found a little bit of time. There was actually a comment on one of the videos I posted yesterday about a particular specific question, and it actually started off with why am I not doing Drinking Leather again? And it seemed like a lot of people really enjoyed it, so I'd really like to bring it back. But the question was really good. It was about if combination tanned leathers like Chromeexcel and Latigo are both combination tanned, how are they different? And I actually have a Latigo jacket on, which is ridiculous, but I also have some Chromeexcel. So I want to go into how we make those two types of leathers and what different characteristics they each have and what makes them different in the production part of it. But anyways, first up, I guess I'm still a little bit early here, but whatever. Hey, Noah. Noah, good to see you. You caught one live looking to pull the trigger on black marbled fat Herbie. Hey, I encourage that. I actually put a photo up of that Herbie with me wearing this jacket, and that one looks amazing. I was going to save this for the end of the video, but tomorrow I'm going to be doing a little bit of a deal on a different black marbled Johnny the Fox. I actually just spent a little bit of time making a video about this guy. So if you're into this, you might want to grab this instead, just because it will be a little less expensive. And having said that, I love Fat Herbie, so it's hard for me to discourage a Fat Herbie. Stephanie, good to see you, Stephanie. But the black marble Johnny the Foxes I have right now are really, really awesome. And I'm sorry to kill you like that, but yeah. I don't know if those Herbies are going to go on sale, but again, like Fat Herbie's the best wallet. And actually that's the second topic today, is I want to talk about my Fat Herbie. So let's get to it, since it's we're 1 minute early here. This is Drinking Leather, episode 6. And I'm so glad that people are here. It's been a long time since I've done this, and I really enjoy these a lot. And it's very difficult for me to spend the time to do it, but I'm going to make the time, because this is actually probably the most fun part of the job, is chatting with all you guys, especially people that are really into different types of leathers. That's the whole reason I started making wallets in the first place, was I just love the leather. Like I'm surrounded by it right now. I've got footballs and belts and wallets and boots. I have a ton of swatches here of different Horween stuff. So obviously I love it, and it's just fun to talk about. And I really like answering questions that I don't think of because I'm like very close to the Horween leather tannery and different types of leather. I'm probably the most close a person could be to leather in general. So it's hard for me to know what doesn't make sense. And I say this quote a lot, is before I started working at a leather tannery, I thought that all leather was the same. And now that I know too much, I don't know how to bridge the gap for people to get to this place of understanding of the different types, and like, why would you use one leather over another and all that type of stuff. So that's why I'm here. This is my favorite part of it, and it's Drinking Leather. So first up today, we've got a beer. I'm going to talk about this awesome 3 Floyds zombie dust beer that I have. I wanted to talk about my Fat Herbie, and this has a special leather that we'll get into. And then the big topic, the big chat's going to be combination tan leathers. A lot of people know about chrome tanning, and a lot of people now know about vegetable tanning. And when you combine the two, what does that mean? If Latigo is a chrome tan leather with a vegetable retannage, and Chromeexcel also is a chrome tan leather with vegetable retannage, how is that different? And I could see how that would not make any sense, but we're going to clear that up, as well as any questions, and we'll have a little chat about anything you guys want to talk about. So first up, I want to know what you guys are drinking This is Zombie Dust by Floyds. And if you like heavy metal like I do, you probably are already aware of Floyds. They're in Munster, Indiana, which is just over the border here from Chicago. And yes, no, this is a raw shell Herbie. It's my current daily carry. Uh, Anyways, Floyds just across the Illinois-Indiana border in Munster, Indiana. If you're in Chicago, it's almost worth taking a drive down there just to check out the brewery. They do a nice little tour. They're very sort of homey feeling. It's a very small company, but they make some of the best beers that you can find. And I'm not really a beer snob, even though like I have this show about drinking and talking about leather. The show for me is more about understanding like what I'm tasting, and I like to hear what you guys tell me because I've learned some stuff about different types of hops that I did not know about, and now I buy Cascade Hops beers because I know that's what I like. So we can talk about all this stuff. If you're in Chicago, you should drive down there, or if you're crazy like I am, you can take a bike and actually bike down there, which is really fun. It's actually a really fun day trip. It's a little tiring if you're out of shape like I am. I've done it a couple times, but it's really fun to bike, get exhausted, and then drink a bunch of beers. And they have good food there too. So Floyds Zombie Dust is what I'm drinking today. This is a standard of theirs now. There was a point in time where it was kind of hard to get. Floyds kind of has this thing where because they're such a small brewery, it was really hard for anybody to get it. And there was a point in time where it was like reasonably priced, and they kind of figured out that they have high demand, so they just jacked the price up. It was kind of expensive, but it's pretty good. And I'm getting greedy today. I have 2 of them just in case. So, what style is this? It tastes like an IPA, and of course they don't really say. This intensely hopped and gushing undead pale ale will be one's only respite after the zombie apocalypse. Created with our marvelous friends in the comic industry. Very cool. How many of you have had Floyds before? This is pretty good. I like their gumball head. They got a bunch of other stuff. Alpha King. Those are sort of the standards that they have. And the other fun thing is every year they do this thing called Dark Lord Day. They have this famous beer called Dark Lord, and they have a whole festival around it. They only make so much, blah, blah, blah. You buy a ticket. Kind of a racket, but it's really good beer. It tastes like milkshake. It's a imperial stout. So that is Zombie Dust. Let's get to things that I actually know about. And I wanted to talk about my Fat Herbie, and you can see I've like obviously used this one. I actually was just out in California. My dad got married, which is super awesome. So Dad, if you're here, which I don't think you know how to use the internet, but if you're here, we had a great time at your wedding, and congratulations. It's really cool because not a lot of children get to see their parents get married. So I thought that was a really special moment. And on that same trip, my wife and I took some time to drive down the coast of California, and we had an awesome time, spent a little bit of time in Carmel, and then we went down to Santa Barbara, and then we ended our trip in Las Vegas. And for some reason, I still have one of the receipts from a restaurant there. And of course, because I was in Vegas, I am out of cash. So this is my Fat Herbie, and you can't actually get this leather, although you can get something very similar. This one is something I've been wearing I made this about a year ago, but I had worn it off and on. There's a couple wallets on the shelf there that I wanted to see how those wore in. But this Fat Herbie is the one I'm wearing now. And I can't I can't tell you how awesome it is, because I've literally I haven't polished it. I haven't brushed it. I've done nothing to this. I throw it in bags. I don't care about I care about it, but I don't baby it. So you can see there's like a dent there, but there you can see some of my denim has started to crock onto the leather itself. But like, come on, that luster is ridiculous. And even in this terrible video quality here, I'm sure you can even see like the depth of the luster on this thing. So raw shell is very cool. It's something I had come up with, Skip at Horween. I wanted to make a leather that patinaed better than anything. And we had observed that the strips, there's veg strips that Horween sells. You can easily buy them if you just search Horween strips. Um, those age really well. And actually, that's the wallet next to the orange football over here is a strip, a wallet made out of a strip. And I just loved how quickly and intensely the patina developed on that thing. So Skip and I were talking, how can we make something that would what piece of shell could we do that would age the best? So the obvious answer would be just natural, but um, this is raw natural, and the only difference is when this showed up, it kind of looked more like that. It was very um, kind of hazy and cloudy. Like basically, it didn't go through the last few polishing stages that Horween does. It's actually quite an intense finishing procedure they have on the cordovan. Uh, but the raw shell doesn't do any of that. So when I got this, it was sort of like how a new buck would look, if you're familiar with that. Hey Trent, this is it. Okay, everybody, I would like you to welcome Trent because if Trent didn't make this comment yesterday, none of this would be happening right now. And thank you so much, Trent, for reminding me about the show because I love doing it. And the question you had yesterday was so good that it sort of sparked me wanting to do this today to give some answers to that really good question. And I answered you on the comment, but we're going to try to get it even more in depth here. But cheers, Trent. You're kind of a big deal. But no, I really appreciate it. And speaking of that, if you guys might have noticed, I've been posting a lot of videos recently. I thought I'll give you a secret of my inspiration. And in front of me here that you can't see, I've got a bunch of guitars on a wall. And I really love, I'm a bass player. So I really love basses and guitars. And I like woods. And I like how they finish different types of woods. There's one particular guitar company in California. They used to be called Carvin, and now they're called Kiesel. And I model a lot of what we do at Ashland off of their business just because I enjoy it. Hey, Laura, my wife's home. We're doing a show here, Laura. You want to say hi to everybody? Probably not. But anyways, I model a lot of what we do at Ashland based on Carvin. And I really like some of the things they do on social media. They post pictures of all their custom makes on a regular basis. And I think it's really fun to see all the different stuff. So I started doing that after I got back from Las Vegas because I thought it would be fun to share some of the day-to-day stuff that we do at Ashland that you don't really get to see. And there's so much awesome stuff that we do that it'd be a shame to not share it. So that's where these daily videos are coming from. And I'm curious to see if it's a little bit too much. Like I feel like it's possible that people could be overwhelmed by that. So if it's offensive, let me know and I'll stop doing it. But I guess you could just not watch it. So my plan is to do more of these daily videos of like everything or most of the things that we're shipping out on a day-to-day basis. But I also want to start doing more, I don't know, journalistic type of things about like what is Latigo and make like a nicer video about that, or like some of the different tanges that Horween does. It'd be fun to show some scenes from the Tannery and how they do that. So I still want to do that in addition to these daily things, but please let me know. Love some feedback on that. But where was I? So the raw shell cordovan. This is again like the only one that exists right now. I'm planning to do some more, and it's really cool actually because I think just this week Skip had finally finished up some more raw shells. Like I think there are only going to be about 5 of them. So we'll be getting more of these, but I don't think I can offer it as a standard thing. The way things work at Horween is we take things very slowly because we like to know that we can do something before we offer it to people. So I don't want to offer this because I don't know if we can actually do it yet. We've only made a couple. So it's sort of like that process where, okay, I've proven that I can make this. Now we're going to offer it. But anyways, the raw shell is really cool. The whole idea was patina. How am I going to get the best patina possible? So again, this started off completely dull, sort of like the inside here, although this is polished a little bit. But now it's sort of developed this awesome glow and bright, shiny luster. that I am really into. And you can see how much the color has changed sort of down the spine there, which is really neat. If you want to expedite patina, and I don't know if I recommend this because I like personally how things just develop on their own. But if you put a little bit of water with any veg and wear it in a jean pocket, it's gonna polish up. So there's a combination of moisture and friction and time that will allow veg leathers to develop patina. So that's that. I missed a couple comments here. Yingling's Hershey chocolate. God, that sounds good. And I bet you're surprised that I can pronounce Yinglings because I think I'm pronouncing that right because we don't actually get that here in Chicago. They don't distribute here. Tony the Ant. So Tony the Ant is a fun wallet to comment. ELJPSS. I don't know about Fat Herbie being the best, but I love Tony the Ant. This was the first wallet I started making when Dan and I started making wallets at Ashland. And I like this. And I think a lot of people had the same reaction as a lot of people had the reaction of like, wow, that's really big. And yeah, it's big. It appears larger than a traditional bifold, but it's really not like that much different. And I actually have some jeans under here. It fits in all the pockets. So I never really had a size pocket issue with these, but yes, it is totally different. And that's because the card layout. So we had a lot of feedback about that when we first started in 2011. So in 2012, we started working on a smaller version of the Fat Herbie, which is sort of like a Frankenstein between a traditional bifold like Johnny the Fox and the Fat Herbie. So the Tony the Ant is sort of smushed down, and we actually extend the length just a tiny bit. Because the way it flexes, the bills weren't folding nicely in the first versions we were doing. So Tony the Ant, we originally were calling the Mini Herbie. So all of our cutting tools for the Tony the Ant actually have Mini Herbie written all over them. So that's a fun little fact. Let's see what else. Yeah, Trent made it. Guitars with acoustics. What's that awesome? What's that really awesome acoustic guitar brand? Martin. I love looking at those Martins. My only problem with acoustic guitars is like they figured out that just that clean natural wood looks great, and so all of them are that. And I like seeing ideas in woods that kind of look like this, where they do the quilted stuff and sort of layer different stains on it. So all the leather too, and when I was working samples at Horween, I would give direction to the sample development team, and I would show them pictures of guitars because I thought that the way that they finish particular woods were really cool. So some of the new development that they're working on is sort of guitar inspired, but it's, I suppose, more of like a wood finish inspired. I'm really into these sort of like retro 80s like neon stuff. So there might be some cool stuff like that coming from Horween. It's sort of not like when I think of Horween, I don't really think of something wild and crazy. I think more classics. But they made a couple sides and they look really cool. So Tim Krenz, love your videos. I get shell envy. Yes. Well, I'm sorry. That's actually, to me, like when I get guitar envy when I look at all these guitars, but it sort of scratches the itch just seeing them. So I'm trying to scratch that itch for you, Tim. Koa kind of is this color, right? I do like some Koa. All right, so Fat Herbie original model. It's now sort of like our flagship. It's actually our third best-selling wallet, which gives me a little bit of sadness just because I love it so much, and you'll see me push it really hard on these types of videos just because I want people to experience the joy that I get out of using this. Because of that card layout, it just lays flatter than any wallet. There's many reasons I think it's the best, but the Johnny the Fox is actually our best-selling wallet, probably because when you close your eyes and you imagine a men's wallet or a men's style wallet, it probably looks something like this. And then Tony the Ant's actually our second bestseller, and then the Herbie. All right, so big chat today is Latigo and Chromexcel and combination tan leathers. And there's a lot to cover here, so I'm going to try to make it as simple and straightforward as possible. And I do have, like I said, this is a Latigo jacket, which is completely ridiculous. I can't pull this off because I'm not that cool. But this is something I made with a local guy. We were thinking about doing jackets like 5 or 6 years ago, and we made a couple of these. And this is actually the same leather that you'll find on the interior of the Johnny the Fox, but we put a different finish system on the top so the sun wouldn't affect the color. There's a UV top coat, we call it. But you might notice the color is the same as the mock Latigo that we use on our Johnny the Fox. So let's start just with the sort of baseline of terms here. There is a type of tannage in the world, and what's a tannage? It's a type of leather that is called vegetable tanning and chrome tanning. These are the big two in the world. You'll find a lot of vegetable tan leather in things like saddlery. You'll find it in a lot of leather goods as well. And vegetable tan leather is really well known for being sort of like this color. You can stain it, you can tool it, you can do a lot of cool stuff. And the unique characteristic about the veg tan stuff is it's moldable, and it sort of acts more like wood. It's because there are more tree barks in it, it's more woody than a chrome tan leather. And the chrome tan leather is more metallic than wood. It's sort of, if you watch the video that, I think it was the last, believe it or not, the last drinking leather we did. If you watch the video with Esteban, one of the tanners at Horween, he went into the difference between chrome tanning and vegetable tan leather, vegetable tan and chrome tanning. Sorry, I was reading and talking at the same time. It was stupid. But the chrome tanning is infusing metals with the fibers in the leather, and the vegetable tan leather is infusing wood with the fibers in the leather. So you get more of like a wood effect on veg, and you get more of like it doesn't feel like metal, but it gives you more heat resistance and strength. Excuse me. You get heat resistance and strength because the leather turns into more of a metal with the chrome tanning, because you're binding all those fibers with the chrome salts. So that's kind of a really awesome thing. John is asking about these footballs behind me. I think you can buy these direct from Wilson. Every year after the Super Bowl, they'll sell Super Bowl balls, which I think they sell direct on their site, but they're kind of expensive. So look into that. So the idea of tanning, though, is we start with a hide that has hair on it. So the first job that we do at the tannery is to remove all the hair. Then we have to cure it so it doesn't rot and turn into dirt. And by doing that, we're taking out all the nourishing fats and oils in the leather. And when you either veg or chrome tan a leather, after taking out all those fats, it's like stiff as a board. It's almost like a piece of cardboard. And if you flex it and bend it, it will just crack, because there's no nourishing oils or fats inside the fibers to lubricate them so they can move. So that's where a process called retanning comes in. So the first stage of tanning, get rid of the hair, cure the hide. But the second stage of retanning is where we start to introduce new things like fats and colors and different tanning materials that will give the leather properties that you might desire. So like on these footballs behind me, we put a lot of veg in there. And I can't go too much into the details on football, but we put a lot of different things into the footballs that allow them to hold a pebble texture. So if you think about a veg and you know that it will hold its shape, you might want to use a veg if you're making a football. Something like military boots or like firefighter boots. If you put a veg on a firefighter boot, the leather will not be heat resistant, and it will just crack because you're cooking it. It's kind of like cooking a potato chip. But if you make it in chrome tan leather, it's much more resistant to heat. It's also more flexible and soft, the chrome tan stuff. So you can combine these two characteristics to get a Frankenstein leather that we call combination tan. And having said that, the process of retanning is infinite. You can do, in fact, the process of tanning is infinite. But let's pretend that we have the same base tannage, like a same chrome tannage. Each tannery has their own formulation, and they're all kind of similar. They're more the different tannages give you different results that are not sort of um, appreciable. A lot of tanneries, like Horween, their chrome tan leather is designed to plump up and get thicker, where many other tanneries are designed to stretch out and get bigger, so you can sell more square feet of leather. But let's assume that we're starting with the same base chrome tannage. The retanning process can be so much different stuff. You can nourish those fibers again with any types of oils. You can use synthetic oils. You can do a different process called hot stuffing, where you're using raw waxes and raw fats so you sort of pound in the fats into there. But you can also introduce things like color. What do I have here? Like this is a piece of Latigo that was drum dyed orange, and then we stained gray on top. I think we did this for New Balance or Adidas or something. So you can put different colors into the mills to give it a different shade. So like here's a navy, and this is like what is this called? Harvest. Golden yellow. So retanning, I think of it as giving it color and then giving it different characteristics. So we can give it characteristics of a football, or we can give it characteristics like this Chromeexcel. And you can see this Chromeexcel has been flexed. If I rub this back, which I could do, it will turn more towards that shade, or I can like write my name under it. P. So that's what we call a pull-up leather. And what's happening there is there's just so much grease and wax and oil that we impregnated into this piece of Chromeexcel that when you flex it, those waxes become mobile and they move around, and you start to see more of the underside, like the base color, which this one had no stain put in it. This is natural Chromeexcel. I'm going to stop there for a sec. Does anybody have a question about what it's really hard to describe, but retanning is an additive process to the tanning process. So you can start with the base tannage of chrome or veg, and then you can add to it. Is it kind of clear on that? It's bizarre because there's no analogy that I can use for it. Well, I'll assume it makes sense. If you guys want to know if that wasn't clear, I can come back to it. But let's go with this is a chrome tan, and then we retanned it with veg, because you can chrome tan leather and then add tree barks to it later while it's still wet and before it's been dried, and like this gets hung dried. Latigo gets pasted. We can go into that too. But the big difference is the amount of tree barks, and the types of tree barks that we put into this are different than Latigo. So like this jacket is Latigo. And this is a weird example because it's so thin, but typically Latigo is much drier feeling and it has more firmness to it. And the Chromeexcel is very round and supple. It has a bit of body to it, but it also has a nice, like, see how it snaps back to my hand? That's what I call it a bite. I call it a veg bite. And when you're feeling a vegetable tan leather, it has a specific feeling in your hand. In the industry, they call it a hand feel. And to me, when it snaps back to my hand without pressing it, I call that a veggie bite. And that's because the tree barks in there are pulling the fibers back, and it gives this really rich sort of snap to the leather. That's really unique. A straight chrome leather won't feel like that. It will feel very soft and drapey. But the big difference between the Chromeexcel and the Latigo is the types of tree barks, the amount of tree barks, and then the types of fats that we put back into the fibers to nourish the skin so it's not going to crack, right? So you can add different materials in that retanning process. So looking at, let's see if I can get the closest. I don't have a really good apples to apples here. However, this, like, I don't know if you have a Johnny the Fox around, like one of these. We make them in this sort of natural mock interior, or we make them in a black interior. But if you had one of these and you feel it, you'll feel that the leather is much more firm and has less stretch to it. Even though this is made out of a very thin horsehide, it still is less stretchy and more firm than a Chromeexcel. And that's because it has less nourishing fats in it. And it's also because of the way we dried this. And I'm getting a little too in the weeds on that, but we can dry the leather in different ways as well. We can stretch it out on frames, which is how a lot of leathers in the world are made. They're either toggle dried or paste dried, and they're sort of stretched apart on a frame and let dry that way. Or Chromeexcel, the thesis is that we can hang dry a piece of Chromeexcel on a hook in a dry room and not pull it. We're just hanging it. And the idea is that because it will shrink back, it will give you a better break when you fold it in on itself, like on a shoe, like on these boots behind me. So hang drying in theory has a better break. It depends on like what else you're doing to the leather. You can kind of break it if you wanted. If you put it in the tumbling mill, it's going to break. But that's sort of the distinction. Like I can't really tell you the exact formulations of Chromeexcel. Like let's get a different color here. So this is a green. You can see this was on a natural base too. So when I flex it, it should get a lot lighter. I can't get into the formulations, but I can tell you that the amount of waxes and greases and oils in this, and I think I wrote this in your comment yesterday, the amount is so high that you can't even use adhesives on this because glue won't stick to it. There's so much grease in this that it's not cementable, is what they would call in the industry. So you'll only find Chromeexcel properly used on a welted shoe. So like Nike on a any sole that is cemented onto the leather is you're never gonna see Chromeexcel in there because there's just too much grease in here to actually fix to anything else. Where on the Latigo, there's a lot less oils, fats, greases in there. You can sort of glue it to anything. Same with shell cordovan. There's actually a surprising amount of oils, fats, greases in the shell as well. Stephanie says, "Ain't that the truth? I have tried to glue Chromeexcel before with no damn luck." Yeah, you can get it to fix temporarily, but it will just fall off. There are versions. Stephanie might be interested. I know that Stephanie makes really awesome stuff too. Props to Stephanie. There are versions of Chromeexcel that Horween makes that you might be interested in if you like the sort of characteristics of Chromeexcel, but you would like to glue them. The other leathers that they make are called Beaufort Chromeexcel and Cavalier Chromeexcel. Both of those have less than half the amount of grease in here, and like you can see just the grease sort of spewing back out of this, how it's sort of clouding up. And if I brush this, let's see if this even works. All those waxes sort of blend right back in. So Chromeexcel was really cool. Is back in the day, they marketed as self-polishing for this reason exactly. I've noticed that bloom of the haze comes out when temperatures shift. I'm not actually sure of what's happening, but it seems like when it gets cold and then hot and cold, maybe in like a 50-degree swing, the waxes start to come back to the surface, which is kind of interesting. But let's talk about Latigo a little bit. It's not a lot of people know much about Horween Latigo. Like I actually pulled up a Wikipedia article here to see what the world thinks Latigo is, because originally it was a saddlery type of leather. You use it for straps and saddlery and western wear. Horween makes a version called Illini Latigo, which is more of like a traditional saddlery leather. It's very full of waxes, greases, and oils, probably more so than the Chromeexcel. It's actually super, super dense too. And I really like woolly Chromeexcel. There's so many different versions of things that are very similar. But Latigos are sort of, they're more veggie than the Chromeexcel. I find the Chromeexcel to be much more, like it doesn't patina as nicely as Latigo. It's much softer, even though they're the same amount of chrome in them. The Latigo is much drier, firmer, it has more ability to patina, and it doesn't stretch as much. Trent says, I asked the question because I bought a pair of boots made out of it, and what I found online was what you're saying, saddlery. Yeah, I bet those Latigo boots age amazingly. The other cool thing about Latigo is it has a this has nothing to do with the retanning and what's in it, or combination tan has nothing to do with combination tan. But the way that we finish the Latigo is so minimal that it's much more grainy. Like it's almost like a naked leather. So if you look at it very closely, you'll see a high amount of those hair follicles and a high amount of what we would call as grain character. But because of the drying method we use, that's called pasting, it sort of flattens out that grain. And I like that look. It's sort of it's a grainy look, but it's like a flat grain. it's it's because what you're doing is you actually imagine like a big glass frame, and we take some paste and we just smash the leather against it and then scrape it out and slick it across that frame. So you're smashing the grain against this glass and letting it dry in a big oven like that. So imagine what a piece of glass would do if it just like dried against grain. It sort of just like pushes it down and flattens it. If you're looking for the most grainy thing ever, try to find a toggled leather. That grain like really stands up. It's like very pronounced and kind of cool. For me, I prefer the Latigo. I actually would like to do more wallets in the Latigo. I'd also like to do more wallets in the Dublin. Both of those patina very well. I think of the two, of all the let me think about saying this before I say it. I think of all the non-shell stuff, other than like a straight veg, the Latigo is going to develop the best patina that you can get. And I think that's because it has the lowest amount of oils in it. And I'm not sure about that, though. I'll say it because I know shell has like a ton of oil in it. Let me think about why that is. But Latigo develops an amazing patina. Stephanie, what's an extremely water and glue repellent? And Trent said, oh, what boots did you buy, Trent? I'd be curious to see who's using Latigo because it's really cool. I know New Balance does some Latigo like sneakers right now, but their Latigo is like a little different. They like super heavy finish it because they're trying to make it like a sleek modern shoe. And like this boot here is like not their aesthetic at all. Although it should be. It'd be super awesome. And yeah, Stephanie, the teal. The teal is like teal Latigo is a classic example of why I started Ashland. I just saw it and I went, "That's an awesome, vibrant color." And on the Latigo itself, we knew that we wanted Latigo on the interiors of our wallets. So when they ran that teal color, we threw in a couple extra horse fronts and then made some wallets out of it because I thought it would look awesome with black. And a lot of the stuff I do is just because I think it's going to be cool for myself. Which is again like why we started making all this stuff. Let me see if I can sum this up, and then we can move on to more questions. You can tan leather by removing the hair and pulling out the fats that will rot, and you can replace those fats with chrome salts, and that is called chrome tan leather, or you can replace it with tree barks, and that's called veg tan leather. If you were to just stop right there, you would end up with a potato chip and it would just crack. So we have to nourish the hide again, even after all the hair is removed and we put tree barks in or we put chrome in. We have to nourish it with fats, and you can do that in multiple ways. One of the ways you can do it is in a hot stuffing drum, like Chromeexcel has. There's many other leathers, but it's sort of a rarity these days because it's expensive and takes special equipment. Because you have to steam heat your materials to pound them into the leather. Or you can use syntans or different types of fats that are pounded in like a regular tanning mill. And Latigo is tanned using a different mixture of fats and a different mixture of oils in that retanning process. You can also introduce chrome in the retanning process, or more commonly, you start with a chrome and then you add veg to it. And that is what we see a lot at Horween. So Chromeexcel, I believe, got its name because it was a chrome tannage. And they said to themselves back in 1900, what would happen if we introduced some tree barks back into this? And they went, oh, that's great. Let's call it Chromeexcel. So that's how the word Chromeexcel came about. But there were also other things at the time like Latigos and other things that were combination tanned. So the difference is not necessarily because it's combination tanned. The difference is because of what you're putting into it. Different tree barks, different oils, different fats. So I hope that helps. I would love to chat about anything you guys want to chat about. I have so much fun doing this, and maybe you teach me something about beers. Want to know more about wallets? I got this. Excuse me. These are my Roy boots, which I love these Roy boots. I think I did a whole show on those before. These I wore to my wedding, and I love them, and I don't baby them, as you can see. I do brush them, and all that's been put on this is brushing. And they still have that great luster. These are 6 or 7 years old. They're super comfortable. Crepe sole. I love the Roy boots. They're kind of expensive. I do need to do a follow-up video sometime soon on the Viberg boots I picked up. Simply put, I was really worried about the Vibergs. I bought some natural shell Vibergs, and I did an unboxing video on that several months ago, and then the summer happened, and I didn't really want to wear these like huge boots in the summer because it's pretty hot. But I did try them on and wore them a bit, and my feet were just busted from these boots. So I was very worried that I was like, man, I can't make like a negative review about Viberg. So I sort of like just forgot about them. And then kind of recently it's cooled off here in Chicago, and I've been wearing them a lot more. And as their literature says, those boots get more and more comfortable the more you wear them. So I'm having better luck with the Vibergs now. It seems like a lot of people that I mentioned this to have had very similar experience. Like Trent just mentioned. I have a theory, and then maybe you guys can back me up. I think that unlined is the way to go. I think that my next pair of boots will be unlined because although they'll probably not have as nice of stand, like these are lined, and when they sit on the table, the shaft sort of sits up nicely. But I think that these would be even more comfortable without a liner. And if I get another pair of anything, I'm gonna try very hard to get something unlined, because I think that's going to be the ultimate. In my mind, it makes a lot of sense of how instead of having this sort of sandwich laminated layer of two different leathers, in my head, it makes a lot more sense to just have one because it will more easily mold to your foot as opposed to two layers. So that's what I'm going to go for. I would imagine you don't see a lot of unlined shell because the shell isn't really thick enough to make an unlined boot with. It would be quite thin. But that's gonna be my next thing. When are we getting the Horween tour? Yeah, I have given a lot of tours there, and within the last few years, we've sort of stopped doing Horween tours for insurance reasons, which sucks. But it's kind of, I mean, I've done some videos there, and if you've seen any photos inside the tannery, it looks 100 years old, and it is. I mean, the stuff there is out of a history book, and it's really like going through a working museum. There's not. It's a dangerous place, and I don't think it's worth the tannery going out of business if you get hurt to see it. So I think what a good compromise might be is for me to spend more effort to take more videos there, because it is super cool. And I know, so Natalie Horween is working there. Natalie is Skip's daughter and Nick's sister. And Natalie had mentioned to me that she'd really like to start a program where we did tours at Horween. And she wanted to have a payment to go on the tour that they would automatically donate to a charity. And her thought is that if we can organize a group of people, we can have it be very formal and like chaperoned, so nobody gets in a position to get hurt. So that might be happening. I wouldn't hold your breath on that, but that was a conversation. Tell you what, though, if you want to come down, the Ashland shop is located just up the street from Horween, and I'd be happy to show you around my shop whenever you want. We have a store, but it's not like a retail store. So if you want to come in, just send me an email and I can set up a time and dedicate, an hour or whatever. We can look at all my stuff. I got a ton of leather over there. I got a ton of machines. We have a lot of wallets, and I would love to show them to you. I didn't even finish one beer. Well, what else? What else you guys got? Let me go through these swatches, and then we might wrap it up here. So we're talking about Chromeexcel. So this is a Havana brown Chromeexcel. This is a very common color because it's very nice. It's lighter and a little bit more orangey than the regular brown Chromeexcel, which is darker and a little bit more red. Loden green Chromeexcel is like very uncommon, and I'm wondering if the color is going to show up well in this video. It's sort of like a forest green. It's pretty nice. It's not super like rich. It's sort of like a dull green. Natural Chromeexcel, we went over this. The surface of natural is very dark, so you'll find companies like Thursday Boot. They buy it from us in a style called casual Chromeexcel, where we run it through a process called staking that lightens up the surface. So it would be like if I pulled out all this and it sort of comes to you like that color. A lot of companies are buying it that way without the pull-up. So casual Chromeexcel is Chromeexcel without a pull-up. We've got timber Chromeexcel, and this is quite orange. I know back in the day, Tanner Goods was using this color. I like this a lot. It didn't really take off, but it's a really awesome rich color that I think more people ought to use. That's timber. And here's a cool one, bison. So this is bison Chromeexcel. Let's see how well this works. You can really see that bison grain character. It almost looks like a shrunken grain. And yeah, sorry, these are like a little cloudy and spewy because the waxes are coming back out. But bison is really cool. This is for a customer called Johnson and Murphy, and they make a ton of really awesome boots and accessories using this color, and they have another color that's a little darker and more red. That's really neat. And black Chromeexcel does not have a pull-up. This one's mill-dyed, so it's actually struck through black all the way, as opposed to these others where you're putting color on top of a natural back. So you sort of get like this like open-faced sandwich of color. And a lot of Chromeexcel is made that way. It's better for you because it's cheaper, as opposed to having to drum dye a green Chromeexcel. You'd have to buy 5,000 feet of it. So yeah, but black mill dyed is really neat. A lot of people use this. I like the mill dyed black more than the on natural, and I think it's because it's just like a little bit more rich. Like it doesn't have a pull up, but I don't know what's happened. It always feels different to me, and I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just in my head. Anybody else have questions about leather or beer or wallets or boots? I might have to sign off here because my wife came home a little bit ago and I never get to see her. So I might go hang out with her, but I would love to answer any questions you guys have. And thanks so much for coming to hang out. It really makes it worthwhile to have you guys here. I would like to do these more often. So give me an idea. Like I'm thinking like Tuesdays or Wednesdays might be best. I would like to know from people that really enjoy this, if there's a particular day of week or like time of day, if it's really late at night and a lot of people want really late at night, that kind of works well for me. Because my wife has to work early in the morning. She usually goes to sleep a lot earlier than I do. So I could do something pretty late. But yeah, I would like to make this work so we can do more chats and talk about more stuff. But yeah, it's super, super great to have everybody show up here. Trent, again, thank you, Trent, for bringing us all together. This is all because of you, man. And Trent says, I've heard you mention horse leather. is usually thinner and lighter than bovine leather in your wallets, for example. But I have a horse leather jacket from Arrow and it weighs a ton. Is it just on the choice of hide of the maker uses? Well, so this is a Horsehide Latigo. And let me it's this kind of goes to your question, Trent. And you probably have a jacket from Arrow or a jacket from Shot, and they use Chromeexcel on a lot of their jackets. Oh, by the way, check out how sweet this shirt is. Let's see. All right. So this jacket is quite light. I mean, and this is all Horsehide. I think Arrow put Chromeexcel on the inside too, which doubles up on it and is probably super heavy. But the thing is there's a density to the different leathers. And because the Latigo has much less waxes and fats in it, it's less dense. So it's much lighter than Chromeexcel. Dublin is super heavy too. I just saw like a lot of people make bags out of Dublin and they look insane. They look awesome. But I worry about your shoulder or somebody's shoulder wearing one of those Dublin bags just because they're going to be so heavy. The Dublin's super dense. The Chromeexcel's super dense. Something to think about if you're going to buy a jacket. So yeah, like you really have to do some shoulder workouts if you're going to wear those Chromeexcel jackets because they're just heavy. But it's not because it's a horse. Like horse hides are thinner inherently. Let's give you a sense of scale here. Most horse hides, the most we can get is 3 ounces. And most steer hides, the thinnest we can get is 3.5 ounces. So you're never going to get a steer hide as thin as a horse starts. And that is what it is. I don't know if that just simply answers your question there, but the lighter, when I talk about lightness in hides of leather, I'm talking about the thickness often. We can talk about density or mass. The mass depends more on the tannage. So like Chromeexcel is very dense and Dublin is very dense and Shell is very dense. And the doubling up is going to be heavy. Like this jacket has just like a fabric cloth liner and it's really light and comfortable. Yeah, I'm going to go visit my wife. Thank you guys so much for coming to hang out. Let's do this again. I'll put up a reminder next time I do it. I would really like to do twice a month. Would be a really nice goal for me to have to come hang out. I'm hesitant to commit because I suck. Honestly, it's like just a lot of stuff going on. I'm spending a lot more time. You see that these daily videos, those take a bit of time. I'm doing a lot more sewing, crafting at the workshop. I have a band that we're recording an album. So there's just like a lot of cool stuff going on, and this is also cool. I need to learn how to how to schedule stuff out. So I think we'll do this again. I'd like to do twice a month. So I'm going to try to put some stuff on my calendar. I'll post things on Facebook. I might even try to post them on Instagram. I know a lot of people are hanging out there. But yeah, Cliff, Trent, Stephanie, Marco, who else is in here? John, Tim, Rich. Oh my God, Rich is here. I'm Vegavis. Oh my God. Gosh, you guys came in as I was leaving, but it's really good to see all of your names and thanks for checking it out. Richard and Vegavis, you should feel free to rewind. We did a little chat about some of this through Floyds. That was super good. I talked about my fat Herbie and raw shell cordovan. We talked like I think I was confusing in talking about combination tan leather, but it's pretty good chat about the difference between Latigo and Chromeexcel. We talked a little bit about boots and stuff. But Stephanie, thank you so much. I look forward to seeing more of your stuff on Instagram, Stephanie. It's really cool. And everybody else, thank you guys so much. And I'll be back again. And thanks and see ya. Bye. Oh.